All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin. I am your host, Tone Vays. Here we go. I started this on a slightly different monitor. Let's move that over. All right. We are finally live. Sorry about that. I meant to put the time at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Somehow, I don't think that worked. But I'm still late, but it's okay. All right, let's go straight to the charts. I am off to BitBlock Boom in 2 days. My last 2 days with a green screen, so I wanted to do something super cool. It says, this is actually the villa that I stayed in last time I was at the Bali Financial Summit. This was my villa. This is exactly what it was, a penthouse on top. I think I'm going to go for a slightly different. I think I'm staying at like the presidential suites so we can host parties there at night. But the Financial Summit, this is a villa you can stay in if you are coming to the Bali Financial Summit. Not some random footage. All right, getting over to screen share. I got your live chat. Jimmy G, Mel, welcome. Motorist, thank you, our moderators, for hanging out. Man, I got some great plans with Jimmy for January. I'll tell you guys all about it as the year is ending. Okay, here we go. We got the weekly chart. We rallied up a little bit, but it's not really amounting to much here. We never made it to the next moving average. The 20-period moving average is dropping like a rock. And I don't see how it's not going to cross over below the 200-week moving average. Bitcoin still has a little puncher's chance not to completely collapse below 20,000. But I am completely neutral and slightly leaning bearish here because it's not, coming up with any mustard to cover last week's losses. We remain in a 100% cash position, waiting to, buy the perfect dip or continue powering through the dip, as my shirt indicates. Daily chart. The daily chart is giving us a couple of wicks on the bottom end of the candle. Today's candle, however, really needs to close green and make up for yesterday's losses. If it's not able to do that, if current candle ends up closing at the bottom end of the candle, I'm going to be pretty bearish. Right now on a daily scale, the line to watch is this one here. It's a very critical line at just under 21,000. If this line is lost, I think Bitcoin is in serious trouble from a price perspective. Hourly chart, not very interesting. 4-hour chart, not very interesting, but it is leaning bullish a little bit. It's leaning bullish a little bit. The stock market is open. You can see we rallied a little bit today on GBTC. The premium isn't going anywhere until we get a big trend. Remember what I said yesterday on oil? I was super surprised that yesterday the week started off as a red oil candle. And I said that only if this week starts trading and especially closes below last week's low, am I going to give up on oil. And I fully expected this week to be a bullish week in the price of oil. And here we are on day 2. Oil has rallied to $93, and I remain bullish on oil. I remain trusting this MRI weekly buy. And I don't think this low is going to be broken to the downside. But we will see. The moment it does, you know what to do with that trade. Gold, I'm not really interested in. Here's our daily correlation between the stocks and Bitcoin. Look at the stock market rallying big time today. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's a 10-minute chart. Let me change that. The stock is not rallying big time. Stocks are just, putting in a doji candle. But as you guys know, I am slightly leaning bullish on stocks, which is kind of weird. How can I be leaning bullish on stocks and yet bearish on Bitcoin? Well, it's because the charts look very, very different. The Bitcoin daily chart does not look bullish. The stock market daily chart does look bullish. That's the difference. They're correlated on a daily basis. But when and they're correlated on a longer term scale. But when you look at them on this intermediate term scale, the charts just have very different patterns. Here's our weekly chart. Our weekly chart of the stock market is just pulling back a little bit. It doesn't look anything, catastrophic yet. We were not able to break the 200 week moving average. That should be the 200 week. We were not able to break that. Normally, this is a cause for concern in the past when the stock market is not able to break the long-term moving average. It has to pull back some more. It is possible we're going to go and make a new low, but for now, I'm going to assume that these moving averages will hold us up. So I'm not overly concerned yet, but the moment we fall below all three moving averages, I will anticipate new lows for the year. Until that does, I will anticipate the break of the 200-week moving average. We are going to be keeping an eye on Ethereum as it heads towards its removal of proof of work and onto proof of stake. It should be happening September 15th. I'm not paying that much attention to it. So if the date changes because, well, it's a fully centralized system, they can change the date, they can change the code, they can do whatever they like. So if there's anything changing, just let me know, guys. So I want to take a look at the euro exchange rate. I heard it went below parity again. As you guys know, I've been bearish on the euro well, not entire life, but my entire YouTube career. So Euro USD, where's Euro USD? There it is. So my entire YouTube career, I've been bearish on the euro. I've been bearish on the euro before my YouTube career. The euro is probably at a new generational low. The last time the euro was this low was in the year 2000. That was over 20 years ago. So right here in 2002, the euro broke parity. So it's been 20 years. That's pretty much a generation, right? More like, 30 years a generation. 20 is more than half a generation. So I started trading around this time. So around the time I started trading, I wasn't a bear on the euro then. I didn't know what the euro was then. But I started becoming a bear on the euro around 2011, 2012. And I've been a bear on the euro ever since. I remain a big bear on the euro, and I think euro is going to go break these lows. The low here is about 0.82 euros to the dollar. And I think that's where we're headed. If we look at it, this is a weekly chart. We just got a red star candle. We're just kicking off the downtrend in weekly euro. The monthly euro is in its acceleration phase. It had an MRI buy. It had a 1 to 4 candle correction. It is now continuing to go down. We had a red star candle, and the monthly looks bad. So this is the euro is in big trouble. The monthly has many months to go. Weekly is just getting started, and the daily is coming to an end. So there could be a little rebound in the euro for a couple of days, and then it's going to keep going down. So I am pretty damn bearish on the euro. Let's see, the Turkish lira finally has broken 18. Turkey is in serious trouble. There it is. That's the daily MRI sell. So maybe the Turkish lira will take a little bit of a breather here. I'm going to be going back to Turkey. Speaking of Turkey, guys, by the way, if you are interested in my financial education, It is right there, TA, risk management, even options trading. We're down to only 2 Tyler Jenks's webinars. I'll make one of them free, probably Consensio around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then we'll only be down to Hyperwave. Slowly, this becomes free. If you look at my calendar, I am off to BitBlock Boom on Thursday. That's where I will be. Next month, you will find me in Panama. We're going to do a couple of meetups at Emotions Dinner Theater. If you are in Texas or Miami, very short flight down to Panama, you're going to have an incredible time. And then I'm in Turkey speaking at the Traffic Summit. So you can check out Traffic Summit. It's a digital marketing event happening in Istanbul. And after that, it will be time for the Financial Summit in Bali. And I'll spend a bunch of time in Dubai like I usually do in October. Yeah, also follow the Financial Summit, guys. We are going to start posting educational material on YouTube. We're going to start posting way more stuff on Twitter. We're going to start doing some research. I'll be joining the spaces tonight, most likely by Green Candle. There's very good financial spaces. Check us out on Instagram as well. We broke 1,000 followers on Instagram. Get back to the charts. Also, we're going to keep an eye on the Russian ruble. Daily chart. Not much progress right now in the Ukraine-Russia war. Russia has not been taking up a lot of ground lately, but I still believe that they will. So we will see where that goes. They just have a stronger military. And the US troops aren't exactly rushing in to help. So, and I believe as that happens, the Russian ruble will appreciate and the Ukrainian currency will depreciate. I heard something very interesting the other day. Someone said to seriously watch the Russian Ukrainian pair. So if we can find it. If I could pull up, I may have to just pull up the two currency divided by each other, which is something I don't really want to mess around with live on camera. So, oh, yeah, I can do it. So it would be USD RUB divided by, actually I want to do it the other way. I want to do USD UAH divided by the Russian ruble. So this right here is Russian ruble versus the Ukrainian hryvnia. And someone said this and it really piqued my interest. Right now, because Russia is taking over lots of Ukrainian territory, which will become Russian territory, you have to be in full denial to think any of this land is ever going to be Ukraine again. That's not going to happen. So as this area becomes Russia, these people are going to start, converting currency from the Ukrainian currency into the Russian currency. And if you are a Ukrainian that is earning, say, some kind of a pension, some kind of a government salary, and you're denominated in Ukrainian hryvnia, let's say you're earning 5,000 hryvnia a month or something, right? how much is that worth? Or more, like 10,000, because it's a low exchange rate, right? It's 30 to 1. Let's say you're earning a certain X number in Ukrainian currency. That could be converted to X number of Russian currency, same number, right? Let's say you're earning 5,000 or 10,000 hryvnia a week or a month, well, whatever their salaries are. I don't know deal with their salaries are. That could be converted to the same number, let's say 10,000, but instead of hryvnia, it'll be rubles. So this is where this becomes important. Right now, that's 0.6. So if you're earning X number of Ukrainian currency, and that gets converted to X number of Russian currency, you're actually losing because you just lost 40% when it's converted to the dollar. But if this rises above 1, and I expect it to rise above 1, when this rises above parity, it is now, and you are, you're not as patriotic as some people are, and you're saying, hey, if I suddenly accept Russian citizenship, if I'm and I convert my income to Russian rubles instead of the Ukrainian hryvnia at the same nominal value of, let's say, 10,000 a month or 20,000 a month, then suddenly I'm becoming wealthier because I'm being paid in a stronger currency. So you really want to keep an eye on this. And the other part is, I should probably save this. So we're going to do USD UAH divided by USD RUB. There it is. We're going to put it right there. And it's something to keep an eye on, right? Because let's just say there's very few Russians that are moving to Ukraine and picking up Ukrainian citizenship, but there's a fair amount of Ukrainians that are going to be interested in becoming Russian citizens, especially if it increases their wealth, if it increases their standard of living. And the currency conversion is one of the factors that could do that. That becomes a very interesting dynamic in this conflict. Well, no, the ruble is not higher, right? Like the ruble's exchange rate is 60 rubles to the dollar. The Ukrainian exchange rate is 36 hryvnia to the dollar, right? So if you're getting paid, let's say 10,000 rubles, right? What is 10,000 rubles? Well, you drop a zero, that's 1,000, and divide by 6. So 1,000 divided by 6 is what, about 150. So you're getting paid $150. Let's say your salary is 10,000 rubles a week. You're getting paid $150 a week. Not a lot of money in America. Probably enough to live on in rural parts of Russia and in rural parts of Ukraine. Now, if you're also getting paid 10,000 hryvnia, suddenly you have twice as much money in dollar terms, right? So if your salary remains 10,000 hryvnia, and suddenly it's 10,000 rubles instead of hryvnia, you actually lost 45%. I'm not wrong on this. It's very basic, simple math. So if they keep your salary at 10,000, but suddenly it gets converted to 10,000 rubles, and the Ukrainian hryvnia, goes to hyperinflation, but you've converted it to rubles, now you get to actually, continue to make money. And this currency has been, would be in hyperinflation if it wasn't for West's price controls. So this would probably be a lot weaker. Right. The moment UAH and the ruble reach parity, that's when most people in Ukraine would be very interested in accepting Russian rubles instead. Because remember, because Russian rubles have been removed from the world stage and Russia is not allowed, well, actually, I'm sorry, they're starting to get more accepted on the world stage because Russia is not allowed to use dollars. Russian rubles become a lot more attractive, even to Ukrainians, as much as they hate Russians, because their currency has no power on the world stage, but the Russian ruble does. Now, Ukrainians could still use dollars, but the Ukrainians that are now going to be stuck in this red zone that is not going back to Ukraine, what do? They may not be allowed to use the Russian dollar, they may not be allowed to use the American dollar because they're in Russian territory. Their own currency is useless on the world stage. So they're going to be converting to rubles. They become a lot more attractive and a lot more useful. The euro's imploding. The euro's decision, the European government's decision to sanction Russia and cut off their own nose to spite their face with their the huge rise in energy costs. Europe is in serious trouble. Europe's in serious trouble. I also think it is unwise for Russia to cut off gas and other energy to West Europe in the winter, because desperate people will call for desperate measures. And if Russia does, cut off all the energy, and the Germans and the French are okay, they still have some nuclear power, and the Germans and some of the other countries here start to get very angry at the Russians for cutting off their God-given right for cheap energy, then they could mount an army and march towards Russia. Now, they're not going to win, especially in the winter. But let's just say, I said it years and years ago, that sooner or later, Europe's going to start killing each other again. And here we are. We had a good run. We had a good 80-year run. Well, of course, the United States would love to try to bankrupt Russia by lowering energy cost, by lowering the price of oil, lowering the price of gas. But again, unless you are living in fairyland where you can just wave a magic wand and generate barrels of oil, good luck, US. Saudi Arabia doesn't like you. Venezuela doesn't like you. Iran doesn't like you. Good luck sourcing that gas. Good luck sourcing that gas. Good luck sourcing that oil. And everyone is loving the new business model. Saudi Arabia and India get to buy cheap Russian oil at a discount. They get to refine it, and they get to sell it to the Europeans at a markup price. That is an incredible business model because, again, European geopolitics are ass backwards. I mean, there was a statement by one of the Russian energy, chiefs, that they don't care what payment for oil they accept. And he even said, if it's Bitcoin, then it's Bitcoin. I don't think they care. I hope they don't start taking Ethereum. Though Vitalik is Russian and he has had a meeting with Putin, I believe, once. I mean, they don't need to. Russia doesn't need Bitcoin. They can accept rubles. And the world is going to pay them in rubles. Yeah, the Baltic states are totally screwed. I mean, it's going to be interesting what's happening right now. After that Russian national was killed, he wasn't military, he was a Russian civilian. His daughter, he wasn't killed, sorry. His daughter got killed with a car bomb that was meant for him. Russia identified the assassin, who they say fled to Estonia. Russia's demanding the handover of the assassin, who technically killed, a non-military person. So this is, it's just a general political assassination, right? Attempt. It's not a war crime because it's not really part of war. I mean, they could try to do it as a war crime, but Europe has zero interest in turning this person over. And that's a problem. And if Estonia is hiding this person, that could start a war between Russia and Estonia. That's not smart. Again, everything you do will either increase the security of your country or decrease the security of your country. So in World War II, Switzerland decided to increase the security of their country by being neutral and holding gold from both sides, the German Nazis and the West. And Switzerland was left alone. There was no war in Switzerland, and they increased the security of their country by being neutral. This time around, these countries, I believe, are grossly decreasing the security of their country by being very aggressive to a giant bear on their border. And if they continue to be aggressive, that bear is going to tear them apart. And they can then, scream and cry to the international community all they want. It's not going to save their people. So you want to do what's best for the security of your country and to save your people. There was a really good, cartoon. Hold on. If I can find it. Man, it was a cartoon. Comic. It's like a cartoon comic. I can try to explain it, but man, I wish I saved it. Maybe I saved it on my phone. I don't know. I'll be able to find it now. But basically, it's this cartoon, right? And it's one of them had the "Don't tread on me" sign, right? It's like these two guys. They're on their knees in front of a ditch, and one of them is wearing a flag. That's the "Don't tread on me," the libertarian flag, right? And the other one is just sitting right next to him. And then there's a guy with a rifle about to shoot them both in the head. And the guy with the "Don't tread on me" sign looks at him with a smile. Joke's on them, this is unconstitutional. Or joke's on them, this is a war crime, right? Basically saying that, yeah, you're about to get executed, and yet you are claiming the moral ground that they are committing a crime. That doesn't really help you, does it? So again, everything that happens geopolitically, any decision a country makes either increases their survival or decreases their survival. And the way Europe's moving, the direction Europe's moving is not good. Of course, this is debatable. What would have happened in World War II had Poland given up some land to Hitler when it first started? Would it have been better or worse? We have no idea. The reason why the war started between Germany and Poland is because Germany wanted a piece of Poland that was taken from them after World War I. They wanted that land back. Poland didn't want to give it back, so Germany went and took it back, and millions and millions and millions of people ended up dying over the next 6 years. So we don't know if it would have been worse or better. We have no idea. Okay. Enough geopolitics for the day. Yep, you can see oil continues to rise. You can look at it on a 10-minute chart. I used to trade this, day trade. I used to be a day trader. I used to trade these commodities. So right now, I would probably be taking my profit or potentially going short for the day, because that's a big rise in oil for the day. That is a $2.50 rise in oil for a single contract on 1,000 barrels. That would be $2,500 on just one contract. I used to trade multiple contracts. That's if you happen to time the low. I would not have timed the low. I would not have traded at 8 in the morning. I would have waited for market open. But I am overall bullish on oil. So I probably would not be shorting it because I'm bullish on oil. I think it's going back to over $100 a barrel. What are the chances US would ban Bitcoin in the future? I think it's small. I think the chances that the US would ban Bitcoin in the future is small. I think they would be very aggressive in their taxation, and they would be very aggressive. They might ban self-custody, but they're not going to ban Bitcoin itself, because I think they know they can't, and I think they also know they can benefit from it. But they're going to want to know exactly where every Satoshi is. They're going to tax the shit out of it, and they want to make sure that it's only for people that they can control. You can't ban it because there are too many states that have too many big companies that benefit from those states, from those companies, sorry, in their states. Like Texas is getting wealthier by having all those Bitcoin miners there. Texas would, if that goes on long enough, again, right now, there are so many things that the federal government in the US is doing that is pissing off states like Texas and Florida. Texas, between their migrant problem, and Florida, with basically, the government, like I've talking shit about them for 2 years, I still think Florida and Texas are going to band together, convince all the red states in between them, and break off from the union. And I think that's going to happen by the end of this decade. And I think the world will be better for it. Unless it's a very violent transition and millions of people die. Then the world is not better for it, right? Like, unlike many in the World Economic Forum and our friends Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, I think that mass murder of people is bad. They disagree. So if there is a peaceful split of the United States, I think that's great. If there is a violent split of the United States, I think that's bad. So I don't know whether it will be peaceful or violent. I have no idea. But I do believe a split's coming. Here's our daily chart of oil. I like the weekly better. New Hampshire is not going to be independent, but nice try, Patrick. You are surrounded by communism. You're going to get taken over. You don't have enough guns or people. New Hampshire is not going to be an independent landlocked country. You have an outlet to the ocean that's about like teeny weeny, like this big. That port's going to be blockaded. You're done. You guys can't even elect a Republican in your Senate. God, all the Massachusetts people will cross the border, vote socialist, and it's over for you. It will suck for St. Louis, like Missouri, Missouri, you're so far up north, and you're such a diehard Republican state, but even if the country splits into just two, you're in a bit of trouble. Now, the interesting thing, I think California might actually split as well. It will be interesting. We can talk about the graph of the U.S. and what would happen. I mean, I really like these chats. I could go to Google Maps. You can go to Google Maps. Right, so in a hypothetical split, I expect all these countries, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, maybe North Carolina, definitely Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, probably Missouri, Kansas, like Colorado's screwed. Probably not Colorado, but New Mexico and Arizona. And here's the interesting part. Southern California, south of Los Angeles. This would be interesting. Now, in a perfect world, if this is its own country, if all of this is its own country, then it needs an outlet to the Pacific Ocean, mostly for shipping routes and stuff like that. So because it needs an outlet to the Pacific Ocean, it's going to be interesting. I don't think they're going to invade Mexico, but it makes total sense that San Diego is no longer part of California. And then you draw like another border over here. Like you can leave this highway so people can go from capitalism to communism. You can leave the highway, but like south of that highway, like these people don't need to go to Mexico anyway. They could also just go by ship. But this area here, with an outlet to the Pacific Ocean, and then you would build, I'm sure San Diego has a big port. And then this San Diego would also be part of the split. At least that they have to find a way to do that. Otherwise, this new country is kind of screwed without a path to the Pacific Ocean. So it's something to consider geographically speaking. Yeah. Colorado is done. It would suck for Wyoming and the Dakotas. But as we go, yeah, St. Louis will be, they're definitely joining. Sorry, Missouri is. Maybe St. Louis will be given to Illinois, but everything else. Man, I've never seen so many Trump 2024 signs like in Missouri. It was crazy. I was there like a year ago or something. Everyone's got a Trump 2024. I've never seen so many, ever. The 87,000 IRS new agents, they're going to target everything and anything except the super wealthy. They're mostly there to do undercover work. That's why they're going to be armed. It is very, very simple. They're there for one and only one reason. Here's something the IRS does not do today. Here's what the IRS does not do. The IRS does not send undercover agents to your business. If you run a deli, or you run, I don't know, an office, you run a dentist shop, whatever it is, right? If you're a small business, which is 70% of US jobs, if you run a small business, you do not get undercover agents in your business. They buy something, they pay in cash, they kind of do that, or like big payments. You don't get an IRS agent at your car dealership, as far as I know, right? As an undercover. You will get those. I think that will be their number one job. Their number one job would be undercover, showing up, buying certain things, and then tracking those transactions. I think that is their number one job. And they'll be walking into that business armed, and in case there's a confrontation. Israel IRS does this a lot. Like from what I heard, like in Israel, you always get undercover IRS agents at your business all the time. So I think the US is going to be following that model. And since a lot of businesses are on the internet, they'll also start, doing that, like undercover internet customers. I mean, I think that's what they're for, because returns are done electronic. These are not going to be accountants. Their skill will not be accounting. Their skill will not be numbers. Their skill will be like an undercover FBI agent. That's what they're training them for, right? They have to be in physical shape. They have to work like long hours. They're going to be doing surveillance. They're going to be, planning stuff. It's basically FBI, but like tracking financial transactions. It'll be, I would say, 60,000 of the 87 is going to be straight up undercover work, like the Stasi in Nazi Germany. Yeah, motorist. That would be a good job. If you get assigned to be the undercover for OnlyFans, yeah. I should apply. Put that in my application. Only if I'm the undercover agent tracking OnlyFans. Yeah, motorist. I agree with you on that. If you're able to convince Maine not to be as communist as I think they are, based on their voting historically, then yeah, if New Hampshire can get together with Maine, then you can pull it off. Then you may become your own country, but I don't think so. Where's your economy going to come from? Crab fishing? Like, come on. There's no manufacturing there. Tourism ain't that great. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for you. You're surrounded. You're in a bad geographical location. But yeah, but if these states do decide to break off, they would need a piece of California. You'll need a piece of California. Borders always change. I don't understand how people like have this notion in their mind that a border is a 10-year-old Bitcoin transaction and it can never change. Borders change all the time. There's a border somewhere in the world that changes every single day, every single hour. The border between Russia and Ukraine is changing every single day right now. Borders change. They always change. Like nothing is new. Look at the history of the Middle East, from the Ottoman Empire to, through all the rest. Austro-Hungarian Empire, like borders change. They'll change again. USSR was one country. Now we have 14. Some of them are going to come back to Russia's going to take over some of their land back. I mean, they're not going to take over Kazakhstan land. Kazakhstan is on good terms with Russia. Why would they take over Kazakhstan land? They wouldn't. They're not going to take over Chinese land. Mongolia seems to be left alone. But these countries, Belarus is going to be left alone. They're on good terms. But Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and already happening in Ukraine, Georgia. Yeah, Russia's going to take some of that. They're going to take a chunk. We'll see what happens to Finland. All right, guys, that's it for me. Bitcoin's rising a bit, probably because the stock market's rising. Well, stock market did rise. 10 a.m. reversal. Here we go. Look at the candles. When was the highest close? So here's the open. Here's the 9:30 open. The stock market rises from the open. Has its highest 10-minute close after going up 20 points. Reaches a high a few minutes after 10 a.m. Probably like 10:02, 10:03. When did the stock market hit a high? 10:09. Okay, at the end of the 10-minute mark. So within 9 minutes of 10 a.m., stock market reaches a high and it now pulls back. Now pulls back 15 points. 10 a.m. reversal again. That's a really good question. What is the point of taking the Baltic countries? Because they are small and insignificant. They're actually not insignificant, and they're becoming a big pain in the ass for Russia. Right? This one blocked commercial railway traffic from Russia to Russia. This one is harboring a fugitive that just assassinated a very prominent person's daughter, assuming it's true what Russia says. Okay, this one hasn't really pissed off Russia yet, but this one also has the most Russians living in it. Latvia. Latvia has the most Russians living in it versus Estonia and Lithuania, and so Latvia might be most on good terms with Russia, right? Also, from what I've recently heard but I haven't looked into, the U.S. Navy has put some very critical ships here, and I think it's Estonia or Latvia, and they provided the ports. So they might be small, and but they're becoming a royal pain in the ass. It's kind of like when you have 3 small mosquitoes in your bedroom and you want to go to sleep. They are small, insignificant mosquitoes, but they're going to make your life a living hell throughout the night. So, yeah, they also have the ability to put nuclear missiles here, very close to Moscow. So, yeah, they're a problem for. If they're not going to be on good terms with Russia, they're a big problem for Russia, even though they're small countries. Again, just like any other country, every decision that Russia makes does one of two things. It either increases the security of Russia or it decreases the security of Russia. I'm not saying those decisions don't have consequences, but Russia felt that taking over half of Ukraine would increase its security because they did not want American nukes on the border of Ukraine and Russia. Now, they will still be on the border of Ukraine and Russia if the border moves by 50%, but at least they'll be further away from Moscow from the Russian perspective. So from the Russian perspective, them going into Ukraine, taking over land, killing the Ukrainian military would increase the long-term security for Russia. They could have made a mistake. The world could gang up against Russia and kill every single Russian. I'm not saying those decisions didn't have consequences, and those decisions could have been wrong. But that was the decision that Russia made. To increase their future security, they decided to go into Ukraine, demilitarize Ukraine, and take over a bunch of land. A better understanding of time-based analysis. Good question. There aren't many tools for that. Do I see the BRICS setting up a new payment system circumventing the US dollar? Of course. Of course I do. 100%. Absolutely. Surprised they haven't done it yet. Absolutely I do. The US dollar as a world reserve currency will end by end of the decade. The United States has done way too many geopolitical mistakes to keep the dollar as a world reserve currency. It's over. How will Bitcoin do? I don't know. I hope it does well. I really do. I have no idea. What more can we say about the price? Nothing else. I probably should get going, guys. It's been about an hour that I've been on. That's long. I only stay at Marriott's when I have a choice. I used to do Airbnbs. I got really frustrated with Airbnb. Its prices kept going up, and it became much more of a pain in the ass. So I like Marriott's, especially Marriott Apartments. So Marriott has gotten into the apartment game. They're actually cheaper than your average Marriott, and you get an apartment with a kitchen and everything. So I'm a big fan of Marriott. I'm like a titanium on Marriott. You also get really good perks as a Marriott loyalty. So I have really good loyalty with United, and I have really good loyalty with Marriott. So I almost always try to fly United, and I almost always try to stay at a Marriott. Someone is asking, should Bitcoin become the world reserve currency? It's not about should, right? Like who decides that? Nobody. So if some countries adopt it as their reserve, I mean, El Salvador's close. All right, guys. Hey, please follow the Financial Summit on Instagram, on YouTube, and of course, Twitter. All right. Thank you for watching. And I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys. Definitely think about coming to Bali. This was literally my villa in 2019, the villa that I stayed at. Marek, thank you for your super chat. Bye, guys.